Tonight's of the program, an exclusive interview with Varawut Silpa-archa on what is happening in Thai politics. The environmental impact of dam construction and climate change on the Mekong River. And we explore the timeless arts and history of Khun Phrom Palace. Swadika, I'm Nad Bunag and welcome to This Week with Thai PBS World. We begin tonight with an exclusive interview with Varawut Silpa-archa, whose party is a member of the coalition government. He was born into politics. Apart from being the son of former Prime Minister Varawut Silpa-archa, his own political career spans over 2 decades. Recently, Thep Chayong sat down with him for a conversation about the political climate in Thailand and his political ambitions.
Thank you for being here. It's great to have you back again on this program.
It's always a pleasure.
As you know, that Thai politics produce a lot of head scratchers. And
Indeed.
This program is designed to help our audience. As we are talking, you know that there is widespread speculation about an impending cabinet reshuffle.
Ah, yes.
And we have learned from the media that the heads will roll. We don't know whose heads will roll.
Fingers crossed.
But as far as you're concerned, do you feel secure with your job?
Well, despite the fact that the name of the ministry is Social Development and Human Security.
You feel secure?
Well, since I took up this position, or even my previous portfolio, one thing I always say to myself, it's not how much time you have left. It's how much work you can do during the time that you serve with the hat still on.
Yeah.
So I think I do spend my time and energy in the work that I've been assigned to. If there are going to be some reshufflings, or if the main coalition party, which is Phrom Thai Party, invited me to talk, of course there will be negotiations.
Okay.
But once the negotiation is done, forget it. You know, until you are being requested for a meeting, then you start thinking about the reshuffling. But until then, I'm still the minister. I've got a lot of work to do, and let's concentrate on that.
No, I remember that when you were here the last time, it was shortly before the general elections in May last year, right?
Yes.
And I remember you were brimming with confidence that your party would do much better than the previous elections.
No, yes.
And you even predicted that your party would win at least 25 seats.
That's
enough to have you nominated as Prime Minister.
Yes.
But we all know what the result of the election was like, right?
Well, the election's always, it's always a 180 degrees turn.
But this time it was a much bigger surprise than people expected, right?
I think some other parties got even more surprised.
Even though your party, Chart Thai Patana, managed to retain all the House seats in Suphanburi, the stronghold, but somehow you lost the popular vote, the votes for the
significantly
the party list MP candidates, right? Did you see it coming?
I did, but not to this magnitude. Like I mentioned just now, that some other parties had even bigger surprise than Chart Thai Patana. But I think the Thai public as a whole, during the previous election, there are so many factors why certain party has such an increase in the number of MP seats. Now that some of the factors have changed, I think as time goes by, the Thai people, the voters, would realize that something it's easier said than done.
I mean, many people believe that the way that the Move Forward Party, Khao Klai, won the election should come as a wake-up call for the more established parties like Chart Thai Patana. And I'm sure you must have done some soul searching within the party itself, right? So have you come up with any answer as to why, things happen the way
there's quite a few elements that sometimes the voters really need to realize. For example, the policies that Chart Thai Patana Party introduced as the main campaign last time, we reiterate on the fact that it's doable, it's sustainable, and it allows people to stand on their own strength. However, some other parties would come up with a more radical policies.
More populist policies.
More populist policy. I'm not talking about whether it's implementable.
Okay.
For example, when we talk about conscription, for example, with the military, what happens if we do not have enough military? Look at the situation at our Western neighbor at the moment with Myanmar. We do need military power to look after our border.
But how would you describe Chart Thai Patana as a party?
I think our party is a pragmatist. During the past administration and up until today, I think I've proven that our party get things done.
You use the word pragmatism, but your critics said, no, it's not pragmatism, it's political expediency that your party has always been associated with.
I think straight after the 14th of May election last year, I was the first party to come and stand and gave an interview in front of the cabinet meeting, before the cabinet meeting, that if Move Forward Party insist on having the coalitions from the previous administration's opposition, then Chart Thai Patana stands ready to become the opposition. I think I was the first one to come out and say that, because Move Forward Party has a very strong beliefs in certain issues that I totally disbelieve in. I have my own beliefs. I work for the king and the country. I hold the royal family and the royal institutions very dearly. And because of that, I came out and I was the first one to say, I'm not going to join because this is where I stand. And if that is still classified as willing to change the color, then I'm sorry.
Let's go back to the impact from the last election, right? And many people want to believe that the victory by the Move Forward Party should serve as an indication that the days of the so-called Ban Jai system, the patronage system, are numbered. Are we too premature to think that the days of the system are numbered simply because of the result of one election?
Now, the funny thing is that despite the fact that last election has proven that the big family names, failed to secure their seats, right after the election, everything just go back to the way it was. The people still rely on the big families in the provinces. And it turns out that sometimes people they elected, they couldn't run to because they don't know what to do. And the big families still, at the moment, still do what they have always been doing. That's what I've seen so far. And I don't know how long it's going to... Would it change the structure of the patronage society of Thailand? It is possible, maybe a decade from now. Will Thailand be transformed into every man for himself and there's no more patronage, no more I help you, you help me? Well, there's a pros and cons to it. But I think as time goes by, I think people would decide how they want to move forward into the Move Forward Party's way or the traditional way. I think it's still a little early to decide whether it's out or not.
All right, last questions, and tell me if I'm wrong. I have a feeling that you feel more comfortable talking about Thai politics in English than in Thai.
Yes.
Why so?
Many people say that. Many people say that because I think
there must be things in Thai politics that you may not feel very comfortable talking about them in Thai, right?
It's just Thai language can be very slippery. You say one thing and
it can be interpreted.
It can be interpreted in a gazillion number of ways.
Okay.
But when I say it in English, I can be very specific.
Many of your supporters, jokingly of course, say that next time they expect you to speak English when you are on your campaign trail.
Oh, that if that is in oh no, I can't actually. I don't know if that go against the regulation of the election commission because.
Why you cannot campaign in other language than Thai? Or what?
Well, who are you campaigning to? You see, because if you're campaigning to a foreigner, now that's illegal because they cannot vote for you. And if I'm going to campaign to Thai people, then I'm going to look pretty silly standing on the stage, campaigning, vote for me. It's going to look quite ridiculous. But I do agree, quite a few people have mentioned to me that I'm very comfortable saying, well, a political interview in English rather than in Thai, because like I said, I can be quite expressive and quite definite in what I'm saying.
All right, so thank you very much. And I can assure you that you didn't say anything that would land you in trouble in this interview.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. ขอบคุณมาก
Thank you. ขอบคุณครับ
Moving on to regional issues, the Mekong River is facing a crisis. The gradual deterioration is being attributed to the impacts of climate change and, more importantly, the construction of dams upstream. Thai PBS World recently talked to an expert on transboundary issues in the Mekong region who specializes in China's economic cooperation with Southeast Asia. He highlights the effects of dams on the Mekong River's flow and suggests potential solutions to save this river.
In Chiang Rai province, once thriving fish communities have transformed into ghost towns devoid of young residents due to the depletion of fish stocks. Similarly, both the fishery around Cambodia's Tonle Sap Lake and the aquaculture of Vietnam Mekong Delta have experienced significant decreases in productivity. The main factors behind the ecosystem changes in the Mekong River are climate change and the construction of nearly 480 dams situated both up and downstream. Several international initiatives are underway to address the Mekong's problem, one of which is the Mekong River Commission, or the MRC. The MRC is an intergovernmental organization which focuses on sustainable management and development of the Mekong River basin. The members include Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, and Vietnam.
But in terms of how the MRC is mitigating the effects of dams, I like to focus on how dams are changing the flood pulse and bringing the peak of the pulse down. The Mekong River Commission hasn't done much work in that aspect. The 1995 Mekong Agreement guarantees, though, that dams built on the mainstream of the Mekong don't affect the pulse. Okay, there are specific rules built into that any new dam on the mainstream of the Mekong isn't going to bring the peak down. So that's definitely a form of mitigation that is part of the design of the 1995 Mekong Agreement.
In Laos, Thailand, Vietnam, and Cambodia, there are several dams that are not located on the mainstream of the Mekong, which have a significant impact on the pulse of the river. The Mekong River Commission only focuses, however, on the mainstream dams. But the dams in China, which are upstream, have the most significant impact on the river all the way down to Cambodia. Currently, the MRC is not able to influence how China operates its dams.
At the moment, there's zero cooperation over joint operations of the river system. I mean, in Laos, there are cascades of dams built on tributaries where this dam operator doesn't tell the dam operator below how its dam will operate and send water out of it. And so there's a total lack of coordination just on small river systems in Laos. It's the larger system that needs a smarter approach. And there's no coordination country to country at all. And that's a very unfortunate circumstance, but that can change.
Data sharing between upstream dams is necessary to enhance operation and explore intelligence approaches for the downstream region. China made a promise in September 2023 to share its dams operation data with those downstream. Unfortunately, as of March 2024, the data has not been shared.
I think China is pledging to be a more responsible partner and share data and to work together with the downstream countries. I think it's important for the downstream countries to show the way towards the solutions and for the downstream countries to demonstrate that they understand what's happening, or there's nowhere to hide. Everything's out in the light, in the open, and an open, honest discussion can happen about the future of the river. And the more evidence there is to demonstrate the changes and why the changes are happening, the more honest the conversation can be.
The Mekong River is currently overburdened with dams and other hydropower projects. There are still 34 more such projects that are under construction in the Mekong Basin. This has put the ecosystem of the longest river in Southeast Asia at risk of collapse. There is still hope of saving the Mekong, but this will require all 6 nations to act now.
The data that we see day to day suggests that the future is going to become very difficult. I think hard times are coming, and with hard times we need stronger collaboration. We need to act faster. And it is still possible, I think, to save the mighty Mekong, but it's going to take a lot of action here in Thailand, in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos, and China to bring a brighter future.
While Prime Minister Sethar Thavisin and the Bank of Thailand scuffle over the interest rates, a Nobel laureate emphasizes the independence of the central bank in maintaining long-term monetary policy. This independent role can ensure sustainable growth in the economy. Let's find out more with Frank Hanchi.
Thailand's Prime Minister Sethar Thavisin has asked the Bank of Thailand to lower its interest rate since the economy has been lacking cash flow for several months. The governor of the central bank has, however, refused, stating that maintaining an interest rate of 2.5% helps alleviate the fluctuations in the Thai baht. Professor Kydland, a 2004 Nobel laureate known for his contributions to business cycle theory, said that the independence of the central bank ensures economic growth in the long run.
So, how would you define central bank's independence from the central government? Why that is important?
Well, part of it has to do with the pressure they would always feel from the fiscal part of the nation. When a central bank is independent, they don't feel that pressure from the rest of the political environment. In part, that's why it's so important for them to feel independent, to feel that they can carry out this policy, and they will not feel pressure from the rest of the government to modify their decisions. And so I think that's key to success.
Professor Kydland pointed out that long-term policy by central bank and government can build up stability and credibility, and that the pressure in politics on the central bank could, however, trigger hyperinflation. The example of Argentina in late 1980s clearly shows the possible apocalyptic scenarios for an economy.
Part of the problem in Argentina or in South America more generally is that there's often been this push to that has resulted in what we call hyperinflation. I mean, hyperinflation would be inflation rates not just of acceptable 10 or 20 or 30% a year, but could be as high as 100% a year or more. And when that happens, it can be quite hurtful to the population, because when they have saved up for their pensions and everything, but when the hyperinflation happens, it means that the value of their pensions decrease. They go almost to zero.
In addition to a central bank's independent role in regulating monetary policy, Professor Kydland said the government should create an environment in which citizens have opportunities to prosper.
My main recommendation would be to remove any barriers that may exist, barriers to riches. Norway is an example of a country where people are worried about social issues. Norway is a champion of having kindergartens all over, making it possible for parents to be productive at the same time that someone is taking care of their children.
Fan Shi reporting for Thai PBS World.
And now let's have a look at the other stories in our weekly roundup. Deputy National Police Chief, Police General Surachet Hakpan, and 4 more police officers have been suspended over their alleged involvement in money laundering in relation to an online gambling network. Acting National Police Chief, Police General Kydland Phanpet, who signed the order, confirms that everything is being done in due process of the law and the police investigation. The labor union of the Bank of Agriculture and Agricultural Cooperatives has voiced opposition to the government's plan to borrow about 172 billion baht from the bank to partially fund the digital wallet scheme. The Secretary General of the union said the bank's employees are afraid that the plan may repeat the mistake of about a decade ago when the BAC board was pressured by the then government of Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra to lend the government about 50 billion baht to fund the infamous rice pledging scheme, resulting in tremendous losses for the state and the lending bank. At least 2 major Chinese electric vehicle battery producers are showing keen interest in setting up production in Thailand, according to the Secretary General of the Board of Investment. They have a potential combined investment of over 30 billion baht in the first phase. The BOI's promotional privileges for investment in EV power cells and energy storage systems ranges from corporate tax and import tariff exemptions on machinery and raw materials to financial support from the fund to increase Thailand's competitiveness and subsidies for human resource development. An explosion at an ice factory in Banglamung district of Chonburi province late Wednesday night caused more than 100 people to suffer eye, throat, and skin irritations after being exposed to a high concentration of ammonia. The explosion at the ice factory in Nong Pru sub-district caused ammonia, which was stored at the facility, to leak into the atmosphere and spread over a 1-kilometer radius of the factory. And if you would like to take a step back in time to explore the charm of Siam during the King Rama V era, Bang Khun Phrom Palace, one of the most beautiful palaces in Bangkok, would be a great place to explore. A former residence of an heir of King Rama V is packed with stories and architectural significance, which mixes Baroque and Rococo elements perfectly. Let's find out more in this episode of Thailand Vibes. So today we're taking you to Bang Khun Phrom Palace, which is one of the most beautiful palaces here in Bangkok. If you want to step back in time, this might be a perfect location for you. This is Bang Khun Phrom Palace, a former royal residence of His Royal Highness Prince Baripat Sukhumpan, one of the heirs of King Rama V. The palace was, however, turned into government offices after the Siamese Revolution in 1932. It was later used as the Bank of Thailand's headquarters before it was turned into a museum. Now the palace is open to the public for visitors to appreciate the art and history of the former royal residence. The palace is unique with its Baroque and Rococo architecture, indicating Western influence during that era.
ก็ต้องสันนิษฐานได้ว่าเนื่องจากท่านอาศัยอยู่ที่ยุโรปนะไปที่เยอรมันเป็นเวลานานตอนนั้นเนี่ยบาโรกในเยอรมันก็เจริญเต็มที่แล้วล่ะท่านก็ต้องได้พบเห็นอาคารที่เหมือนกับคุ้นตานะท่านก็เลยน่าจะพอพระทัยในการที่มีลักษณะเป็นการที่ออกแบบมาเข้ากับสไตล์ที่ท่านชอบอีกอย่างนึงลักษณะของบาโรกมันจะมีความหรูหราเส้นสายความเคลื่อนไหวพอเห็นความเคลื่อนไหวอะไรต่างๆนานามันทำให้ดูหรูหราอลังการมากขึ้นส่วนประกอบที่เป็นองค์ประกอบที่มีการประดับด้วยโรโคโคนี่ก็จะมีความโดดเด่นประมาณ แกะสลักไม้ปิดทองที่จะพบอยู่ที่บานประตูของวังหลวงลมทุกบานจะเป็นลักษณะนี้หมดถ้าพูดถึงสถาปัตยกรรมที่เป็นตะวันตกของวังต่างๆนะอันนี้อาจจะต้องสืบเนื่องย้อนไปถึงเหตุการณ์รศ.112ซึ่งเป็นเหตุการณ์ใหญ่เหตุการณ์สำคัญมากก็คือว่าครั้งนั้นทำให้เรามองว่าตัวรัชกาลที่5เองเนี่ยก็มีพระราชดำริคิดว่าเราจะต้องทำให้บ้านเมืองเนี่ยมีความศิวิไลซ์ซึ่งมันเป็นส่วนที่เห็นชัดเจนมากที่สุดเป็นรูปธรรมที่เห็นมากที่สุดก็ต้องให้มีตึกทันสมัยอะไรต่างๆนานาพระราชนิยมส่วนหนึ่งก็คือท่านโปรดของตะวันตกซึ่งเป็นผลพวงมาจากการเสด็จประพาสยุโรปในครั้งที่1ด้วยเพราะท่านเสด็จปี2440
The palace comprises two main buildings. The main building is called Tamnak Yai, which was built in 1901 as the royal residence of the prince. The other building, Tamnak Somdet, was built 10 years later and served as the royal residence of the prince's mother, Queen Sukuman Marasi. The main building was initially designed by German architect Karl Sendricksky, but was later redesigned by Italian architect Mario Tamagno, hence the unique Baroque and Rococo features, such as the window frames and the pillars. As you enter the main building, you will be stunned by this extravagant marble staircase, which was deemed to be the most elegant staircase of that era. Don't be surprised if you could feel the breeze despite the hot weather, as the structure of the palace was built to allow air ventilation throughout, especially with plenty of windows lined up along the hallways. As you move along, you will pass through the Pink Room, one of the most beautifully decorated rooms within the palace. This used to be the main hall for welcoming royal visitors, performing religious ceremonies, and even to watch a movie together. Next to the Pink Room is the Dark Blue Room, which was used as the living room of the prince's royal consort. Now it is being used to display portraits of the prince, as well as past photos of the Thai royal family. While the main building features Baroque motifs, the other building features a more German Art Nouveau style, as it was designed by German engineer Karl Doring. From the spiral staircase, mosaic tiles, carved wooden pieces, floral and geometric decorations, this building produces a more feminine vibe. The palace is sometimes called Bang Khun Phrom University because the prince's mother placed great importance on education. Therefore, members of the royal family would gather here in this living room to take lessons from foreign teachers. You will also notice this pavilion called Prajom Tre outside the palace. This was where the orchestra of the Royal Navy performed during events where everyone could hear the music echo across the palace. Bang Khun Phrom Palace is open to the public only during weekends, 3 sessions each day, and only 40 visitors are allowed during each session. So if you're planning to visit, don't forget to book a time slot at least 1 week in advance. So Bang Khun Phrom Palace is definitely a must visit because this place is rich in history and architecture. And that's all for this edition of Thailand Vibes. And we have to say that this palace is very beautiful and you have to see them through your own eyes. And that wraps up tonight's edition of This Week with Thai PBS World. Join us every Friday at 10:30 p.m. only on Thai PBS. And don't forget to follow us on social media, including our website, thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest updates about Thailand as well as analyses. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next week. Swadika.
เติมใจให้ฟูไปพร้อมกันทุกวันเสาร์และอาทิตย์กับหลากหลายเนื้อหาที่จะมาสร้างภูมิคุ้มกันกายใจให้แข็งแรง
ถ้าทำด้วยใจรักเป็นงานที่สร้างสรรค์มุ่งประโยชน์สุขของผู้อื่นเป็นสำคัญเนี่ยก็ถือเป็นธรรมะ
เวลา 5 นาฬิกาทำอะไรก็ทำพลังบันดาลใจให้ก้าวเดินตามคำสอนของพระพุทธเจ้าเพื่อเป็นทางนำดำเนินชีวิต
ลูกค้าอิ่มท้องแม่ค้าก็อิ่มใจนะ
มันเพิ่มพลังให้เราถ้าเรามีความภูมิใจนี้เราถึงมีกำลังใจสู้ต่อ
เวลา 6:05 นาทีลุยไม่รู้โรยลุยต่อไปเพื่อเสริมพลังการใช้ชีวิตในโลกที่เปลี่ยนแปลง
ถ้าปล่อยให้มันเกิดขึ้นระยะเวลานานๆมันจะมีผลต่อหลอดเลือด
เวลา 7:30 นาทีคนสู้โรคปรับก่อนป่วยเพื่อนำทางเปลี่ยนชีวิตพิชิตโรคติดตามทุกรายการสร้างสุขทางไทย PBS ช่องหมายเลข 3